Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you are all having a great day. This is unexpectedly expected. I'll jump right into it. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, has delayed a decision on a proposed Bitcoin ETF, pushing its final determination ahead by more than a month. In an order published on the 7th of August, officials at the agency wrote that they were giving themselves more time to deliberate on whether the approval would be the first exchange-traded product of its kind in the United States. It's also perhaps unsurprising given that in the past, the SEC officials have used the agency's statutory powers to push back decisions on Bitcoin ETFs. I told you guys this before. The ETF, or rather every single time that the SEC gets a proposal for an ETF, they are legally allowed to delay it by I think up to 3 times. So I think they're exerting their power in being able to do this. The agency wrote, and I do quote, "Accordingly, the Commission designates the 30th of September 2018 as the date by which the Commission shall either approve or disapprove or institute proceedings to determine whether to disapprove the proposed rule change," end quote. The proposed rule change from the CBOE would, if approved, constitute a critical point on the path to listing a Bitcoin ETF. In conjunction with money management firm Van Eck and crypto startup SolidX, the company submitted their proposal back in June, setting off a busy comment period that saw the crypto community rally in support. That is you guys. All told, more than 100 comments were submitted through mid-July. That's not including the amount of emails that they got. The choice to punt forward a final decision also comes days after the SEC commissioners completed a review on a proposed Bitcoin ETF from investors Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, whose multi-year effort was dashed after a majority of the SEC's commissioners backed up the agency's original March 2017 rejection. One commissioner, Hester Pierce, dissented from that decision, later telling CoinDesk in an interview that the move to block a Bitcoin ETF is a disservice to both investors and innovators. As of press time, the Bitcoin price, this was clearly written a couple of hours ago. So this is the news of the hour. Everyone was trying to figure out, for a couple of hours at least, why the price of Bitcoin had slid down. There didn't seem to be any proper information. As of now, we know apparently the market had moved up a tiny bit based on not hype, but expectations that we could potentially have seen the first Bitcoin ETF. And this is kind of where we saw the other price numbers and stuff like that going up. But sometime a couple hours ago, the prices could not hold it anymore. I think when this first, everything is down even more. When I looked at this about 20 minutes ago, and it's down even more than when I last looked at it. Last night, XRP was already down, I think, around 4%. And I think Bitcoin was only up by 1% as Ethereum was around 0.5% or something like that. This has triggered a massive sell-off. I mean, for what it's worth, we could have or should have seen this coming simply because the SEC has done this before. I told you guys, they look for reasons why they cannot allow ETFs or why they say that they cannot go through, or they find some other type of reason to say that there's some type of new rule change they didn't agree with, or why is this rule change in here, or we'll deliberate on it later at another time. Not really. I mean, it's a I don't want to say a dark day for crypto. This has happened before in the past. I think that what it is that we are or have become accustomed to price drops at this point, and the more that they happen, I think it doesn't really help the sentiment for the market. To be fair, like I said, we have seen days like this before. Bitcoin could, this little lump right here, if you kind of see this little arch up, it could be some type of market recovery. Typically, the market is fearful when it really shouldn't be. Like I said, the fact that higher ups or people with a lot of money are the people who are moving the prices, I'm sure this is all coordinated by them. I think the average person, forgive me if I'm incorrect, probably had no idea that the SEC was going to even give an announcement like that, or that if they did, I don't think that billions of dollars completely sold off from the Bitcoin price at least, and then continuing with the rest of the market from normal investors. This is definitely something for people who are heavy-handed in the market. When you look around for more information, try to figure out exactly why this was rejected, What I think it is, what a lot of other people are speculating, is that since ICE, or even the New York Stock Exchange, depending on how you want to call them, has announced that they're getting into the cryptocurrency game. They said earlier this year that they were not going to do it. Lo and behold, they're definitely going to be getting into it. It has led a lot of people to believe that as the CBOE isn't as large as the NYSE, and the NYSE is also larger than the Winklevoss twins, and the NYSE is a global name. You know, if you're asking someone where do you invest in stocks, they're probably going to say the New York Stock Exchange as opposed to the Gemini crypto exchange ran by the Winklevoss twins. Point is that as this is a very heavy name, it is speculated that they probably pushed back the ETF decision at least until the 30th of September, and they probably are going to reject it. That is just realistic at this point, because the NYSE, since they are already allowed to list securities and futures and ETFs, and I think they also said that they planned on getting into, I think it was physical Bitcoin futures and also something else. It appears more likely that as this is going to launch in November, that they would get first priority, because when you launch something like this, how do I say this? There's trying to find the nicest way to say it. It pretty much comes down to they know the rules. They bring the money in. So if there's money to be made from cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin, especially when the people behind the New York Stock Exchange said that they think that Bitcoin could be the first world currency and they're going to make that happen, they're usually always in cahoots with these other people as well. So the NYSE definitely knows the SEC, the people behind it. Point is, my hopes for it just kind of shows how, I don't want to say the word corrupt, how messed up things can be, where you can get hundreds of emails, hundreds of messages written onto the SEC website, and they still decide to only postpone it, and they're probably going to say no, which is a complete lie. I always say these organizations know exactly what they're going to do beforehand. I think they push things back as a way to kind of pat themselves on the back, to try and, I think they do it to show other people that they have power. If that kind of makes a lot of sense. The same exact thing with like interest rate hikes and stuff like that. The people who put these things into motion or put these things into plan, they know that they have the power. And I think this is how they show that not everyone can pass through the gate, that they always control the power, and that they kind of say who can make it through. Point is, this is why more or less the market is down. There was no other negative news anywhere out there. That there was nothing even significantly negative that could have triggered this. So this seems that this is the reason. As of now, what has been thrown around, not to make the beginning of this video hyper negative and or have a dark cloud over our heads, is believed now that 2018 may have just been an in-between year. Crypto does have these. I think a lot of people got into the market in 2017 and thought that the market would continue to go up. Crypto does have in-between years. 2012 might be good for prices. 2013 would be completely low. 2014 saw a bit of an uptick. 2015 saw the prices go a bit higher. 2016 saw the prices go down. 2017 saw them shoot up. As of now, it seems like, unless something very significant happens, unless the New York Stock Exchange comes out with news over the next couple of weeks, I want to say by mid-September, that they are definitely going to be issuing physical Bitcoin futures, that they are definitely going to find a way or have been pre-approved to launch a Bitcoin ETF, all relatively impossible at this point, then this is the only time I think I see, and I'm sure you kind of see it as well. Like I said, to be fair, when you look at the prices before a year ago, we were kind of in the same position. The market had a bit slumps down, but the market started going back up around September, but we didn't really have that major push until we had the confirmation 100% that we would have the first Bitcoin futures contract, that was approved, and that shot the market up to $20,000. So I think we're in the same exact position. Unless we get some type of good news, 2018 is probably going to be the update or like mainframe type year, in that this is when a lot of coins are launching. This is when a lot of updates are and upgrades are being worked on by the developers, and also when we have the framework being built for the stock exchanges around the world and the institutional investors and the Coinbase pros and the Coinbase, I forgot the name of the other one. Point is, this is, for me now, 2018 is an accumulation year. and also a just a relative in-between year, I have dumped my hopes to the very bottom. I'm still going to continue to work on crypto, and I still believe in crypto, and I definitely think it has a bright future. But 2018 seems like the in-between year before we get to obviously 2019, because 2018 is between 20. Okay, anyway, next up, this one's quite interesting. I believe I'm saying this correct. Lilita Infante, a special agent of the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, or the DEA, has declared that speculative investors dominate Bitcoin transactions as against criminal activities like money laundering, tax evasion, and drug trafficking. According to Infante, the ratio between legitimate and illegitimate uses of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies has flipped in the past 5 years. Speaking to Bloomberg, Infante, a member of the DEA's special 10-person cyber investigation task force, said that the illicit activities used to dominate the crypto space. According to Infante, in 2013, almost 90% of crypto transactions was for illegal purposes. While the decrease isn't an indication of criminals moving away from crypto, Infante declared that it no longer is used overshadows that of, I read that completely wrong. According to Infante, and I quote, "The volume has grown tremendously. The amount of transactions and the dollar value has grown tremendously over the years in criminal activity, but the ratio has decreased. The majority of transactions are used for price speculation," end quote. Cryptocurrency remains the de facto currency of choice of transactions in the dark web. Bitcoins first caught the public eye during the Silk Road investigation, which shed light on the digital currency's use in illegal activities. This is only going to get more interesting as I continue reading. According to Infante, criminal organizations are using cryptos more often to launder money due to the speed of transactions as well as the absence of paper trails. Criminals tend to find such conditions favorable for keeping their dealings under the radar. However, Infante stated that she isn't the least worried about the trend, saying, and I quote, "The blockchain actually gives us a lot of tools to be able to identify people. I actually want them to keep using them," end quote. Despite the anonymity of cryptocurrency transactions, it is still possible to track the movement of funds. Bitcoin, for example, uses an immutable public ledger. Thus, it is easy for the DEA or any other Department of Justice agency, such as the FBI or ATF, to trace funds. While there are privacy-focused cryptos like Monero and Verge, they aren't as liquid as Bitcoin, making them unsuitable for the needs of criminal organizations. Infante also revealed that even if criminals elect to use these privacy-centric coins, government agencies still possess the capability to track the funds. I hope you heard that. I have highlighted it so you can read it. A lot of people think that because some coin has come out saying that they are private, or that you can't find them, or that you can't do this, or that they tear apart your transactions and they put it back together as they send it to the other side, that what they are doing cannot be traced. Keep in mind, we live in the future, whether you want to believe this or not. Think about how different things were in 2008. And then in 1998, and exactly where we are, we live in a world where everything can be traced and tracked back to your IP address. They know exactly where these things are going. I am not going to tell you how to live your life, but just know that if you are doing certain things with certain cryptocurrencies and you think that you are not being tracked or traced, you are probably mistaken. That may not apply to many people who are listening, especially if you haven't, done any like $100,000 crypto transactions. But just remember, there's a reason, I always read between the lines. Bitcoin is 9 years old. Other crypto coins are more or less 4 to 5 years old. There's a reason why governments are certainly now okay and allowing infrastructure to be built around these things. It's not that they want you to have control over your money, or that they are okay with you using privacy coins. It's that everything can be tracked and traced. And I was watching a documentary. It was talking about the future of paper money, and pretty much in about 20 years we will not live in a world with paper money. And this is because The governments and agencies and tax agencies, they want to know where everything is going. So if you have in northern European countries, they are moving completely away from paper currency, and people actually are okay with this simply because they say that payments are a lot faster. But when it comes to tax time and stuff like that, everything can be followed through a line because they know exactly who the name of the card is going to. And the same exact thing is going to happen with cryptocurrencies. This is why I said I think it's we're going to enter a very interesting part in our history. And I mean this, and I'm not expecting like warfare or something ridiculous, but all these agencies and governments are pretty much okay, or more or less warming up to the fact about cryptocurrency simply because they know, and I don't know if you know, that they can track all of these things. They're probably not going after people who are transacting $50 or euros at a time. But when it comes to larger amounts, they're definitely tracking them. And it's because that they know that they can track all these things. But we're going to get into a future relatively soon where someone figures out how to make Bitcoin transactions private and also Ethereum transactions private, and also be able to build on top of these things to actually make them private and in the shadows. And I wonder how governments are going to deal with that. The point is, pay attention to this. The fact that someone came out and said it out loud that they hope that people continue to use these cryptos because they can be tracked is something to keep on your radar, just in case you thought you could get away with something. That is all I'm going to say on that topic. Next up, stablecoins are in the news. A blockchain startup aimed to offer cross-chain payments has announced that it is planning to bring its existing stablecoin to the EOS network. Called Haven, the Australia-based project said in a release on Wednesday that it is expecting to issue its NUSD stablecoin on EOS by the end of this year after the US dollar pegged token first launched on the Ethereum mainnet in June of this year. The project said that the goal is to not switch the token's fundamental network from Ethereum to EOS, but to issue these stablecoins in both networks separately, a mission it claims to offer cross-blockchain stablecoins. At this stage, they said cryptocurrency is still in its infancy. It is not clear which blockchain will manage to scale. Haven founder Kane Warwick said in the announcement, he said, also, for this reason, it's important that projects providing blockchain infrastructure plan to provide cross-chain compatibility so their success isn't bound to the success of whatever chain they've chosen. It feels like he's just choosing both chains just to kind of see which one might survive or be stronger. A stablecoin is typically designed to adjust its supply as the market shifts in order to maintain a price peg to a fiat currency so that its stability would make it easier for businesses to adopt. For instance, stablecoin startup MakerDAO is currently working with supply chain management firm TradeShift to use its Ethereum-based DAI token to help speed up payments for small businesses. Haven's efforts comes after EOS officially, that's not important. The goal of launching cross-chain stablecoins also follows previous news that IBM is working with a startup called Stronghold to launch a stablecoin on the Stellar blockchain. People have said before in the comment section below, I didn't know if they were joking, but I guess they weren't because I saw about 15 of them. It's not that. People were confused as to why I was talking about stablecoins, as they thought that they were digital fiat, I think was the word that they used. The point of stablecoins is as a safe haven to get your money out of a coin that may be fluctuating. The reason why, how do I even, my thoughts. Stablecoins are fine. Stablecoins aren't evil. I don't know where that idea came from. I guess it's because they're pegged one-to-one to the US dollar. The point is that they have to be pegged to something. The idea is that if you are what's happening right now, if you have your money in Bitcoin and you see the price is starting to go back down, you can swap your money into a stable coin simply to have the amount. Let's say you had one Bitcoin and you swapped it out when it was at 7,000, you saw it go below 6,999, you swapped it into Tether, you would then have 6,999 Tether. If you wanted to buy more Bitcoin back, you would then have that amount and you would get a bit more Bitcoin than you had before. This is the point of stable coins, and this is why we have them. This is why they're being made. When we've heard from other organizations and stuff like that before as to why they're making the stable coins, they say when they ask investors what they need, there have been many closed door discussions and things like that between all these organizations, and they ask them, what do you need in order to get into the cryptocurrency space? And the number one thing that they say is they need some type of haven to be able to put their money into should the market be dropping. And this is why we have this is a number 11 or 12 as a stable coin that is expected to come out this year. Because if you look at, I noticed something as I was going to bed last night. The point of Tether is to be tethered to the US dollar. It is never really supposed to ever go up or down in price. As Bitcoin's price suffers and flips back and forth, Tether can actually go down to 99 cents, which is not supposed to happen, or even up to like $1. I think the highest Tether has ever gone was, I think, like $1.20 or something like that on like some random day because of the amount of fluctuations that we ended up having. This was months and months ago. Point is, this is why we have these things, and this is why they're kind of being built. It's to be able to stay in crypto and not have to put your money into fiat. I think a lot of people were confused, or I don't know what it was. They were saying that I was promoting stable coins because I thought like XRP, we needed to get back to digital fiat or something like that. Whatever people are saying, stable coins aren't bad. It's right. It's like swapping your coins from crypto into crypto as opposed to crypto into fiat and then back into crypto. This is kind of the idea behind it. But because, like I've said before, that there's only so much Tether, and we have a larger market cap than can actually fit inside of all the Tether. This is why other coins are being created. So when potentially institutional investors do get into the market, they will have more than one option to be able to swap their money into. Because if we get into a situation where we have $1 trillion market, and the market starts going down and everyone is trying to put their money somewhere and they try to put it into Tether, Tether's price is going to go up to around $3 because of the amount of people who are trying. I'll try and show you the all Tether chart and show you how ridiculous it can get depending on the amount of things that we have going on in the market. Yeah, something like this. We have crazy dips and crazy things going up, and it just kind of gets all over the place. Anyway, that is the stablecoin news for today. Next up, this is also significant, and I'll tell you why. Despite rising competition from other countries seeking to capitalize on the cryptocurrency boom, Switzerland's Crypto Valley looks poised to get its Moxie back. That's because the second Swiss bank, the Zurich-based private bank Maerki Baumann, has agreed to form banking partnership with cryptocurrency firms, solving a major pain point for companies that operate in this industry. The news was first reported by financial publication International Investment. Previously, fellow Zurich institution Falcon Private Bank was the highest profile Swiss bank comfortable with offering services to blockchain companies. Last year, Falcon even began offering cryptocurrency asset management services through a cooperation agreement with Bitcoin Swiss AG. Unlike Falcon, Maerki Baumann does not currently plan to offer cryptocurrency asset management or custody services. However, the bank recently published a report on cryptocurrencies in which it said it is keeping an eye on the asset class. It said, and I do quote, Baumann is keeping an eye on the development of these investment instruments and the corresponding progress on the regulatory side without looking to gain exposure to this young asset class at the present time. This is true not just of direct investments in cryptocurrencies, but also investments in the necessary technology for the trading and custody of these instruments, end quote. Not really necessary to read anymore. The point is, this is now the second Swiss bank that is now getting into this. And this is going to lead into the next thing I'm going to be talking about as well. Pay attention to what's happening. Like I said, when prices are going down and people are still showing interest, this is usually because there's something going on behind the scenes. This is not a conspiracy theory type thing. It's just logic. We would not have this much interest. We would not have the New York Stock Exchange. We would not have two Swiss banks now talking about or suddenly getting into, the idea that they want to get into cryptocurrencies if there wasn't something major moving in the background. And this leads us into the last thing that we have today. While some major banks have refused to go near anything related to virtual currencies, Australia may see its first cryptocurrency bank in the not too distant future. That's if one of the country's leading entrepreneurs, Fred Shebesta, can make his goal a reality. According to news.com, the founder of the country's leading comparison website, Finder, is not deterred by the industry's volatility. In fact, Shabesta believes that interest in digital currencies is stronger than ever. He explained, and I do quote, "At its core, you've got to remember, just because the price of Bitcoin has gone down and people feel angry, that doesn't reduce the interest." As, end quote. That's exactly what I just said. The fact that prices are going down and there's more interest is a little insane, but it kind of makes sense. Even though industry enthusiasts are well aware of the allure of decentralization, the masses are still getting there. Get there they will, according to Shabesta. He said, "You don't have your money, the bank has your money. Have you ever gone to the bank and asked for all of your money? If everyone did a bank run on CommBank, Commonwealth Bank of Australia right now, they wouldn't be able to service it. That's why I'm so big into crypto. I think eventually people will go, oh my gosh, this is so messed up, and they'll move to where they can hold their value, not all of their money, but some of it," end quote. A lot of people don't know, and I think this is one of the most interesting things in why I think a lot of people get into cryptocurrency. I told you guys before, I don't think I elaborated too much on it, that maybe spoke about it for about a minute and a half. When we have banking crises, and people try to take their money out of these banks, they're often told, no, you cannot do it. There have been a lot of reports before from people who, they're not millionaires, but they've tried to take out a large bulk of their savings that they had in one bank. Let's say anywhere like a 6-digit, let's say 100,000, to try to take their money out of the bank, and they were trying to transfer it to another bank, and sometimes the bank told them, no, you cannot take your money out. What people don't know is that the numbers that we have on the screen, when you go to the bank, when you go to an ATM, when you go to any other thing, especially in, looking at your bank account, banks don't actually hold this money. They usually don't hold any money. It's all just numbers on the screen. The expectation is that there won't be a point where everyone is trying to get their money out of the bank, so they only have to hold a certain amount in the bank at the exact same time. The average person is probably just taking out 20, 50, maybe 100, potentially 1,000 euros and or dollars per day, depending on where you are in the world. This is what the average person will take out. I'm sure if you've ever gone to the ATM before, you're not taking out 15,000 at a time. So this is kind of the idea. A lot of people don't realize that the money that they think is there is not there. And this is what makes crypto so interesting, because if you own 1 Bitcoin, if you own 15,000 XRP, if you own 45 Ethereum, that money's there. No one can take that money away from you. There's no faking those numbers because we know exactly what's going on in the blockchain. This is, I'm sure you realize now why crypto is so amazing, because these numbers can't be faked. It's the same exact thing I told you guys before. I was really into traditional finance before I got into crypto, heavily at least. And one of the things that I learned, and it completely shocked me, is when a lot of people trade gold and silver back and forth. And one of the things that they don't realize is that as they're actually doing these things, a lot of times they're just getting gold and silver on paper. So when you try to go to an institution or an organization or a bank, wherever you might have your gold and silver stored, and you tell them, I want this gold, I want to redeem all of these things, they will probably tell you, no, we don't have them. I don't know if you guys remember 3 or 4 years ago, I'm sure a couple of you do, depending on how closely you follow finance. There was an issue a couple of years ago where a number of countries, they were annoyed with something that was happening in the market. And I think Germany went back to the US. They had some type of envoy. They went there and they said, we want our gold. And they said, how much gold do you want? And they said, we want all of it. And the US said, we don't have it. And they said, what do you mean we don't have it? They said, we don't actually hold that gold. Other countries started coming forward and they said, hey, we want our gold as well. Lo and behold, all the gold that these people thought that they had, or these countries, billions and billions of dollars worth of gold, were only on paper. And I want that to sink in. This is why crypto is amazing. This is why it's disrupting and is going to continue to disrupt the world as we know it. Because when you read articles about the future of crypto and where the future of money is going, even though we may have a situation where, things are digital and everything can be tracked and traced, the silver lining on this dark cloud that potentially could rain on us is that we know that we own the money, that we have control over the money. This is why a lot of people don't agree with crypto exchanges. Crypto exchanges aren't bad per se. You still own the money, but the fact that they can potentially, freeze accounts, or that they can do other things where you may not be able to have access to your money because they're doing updates or whatever the case might be, That's kind of the downside to it, but they're still not bad, at least for the moment. But when people realize that when we have better custody options, and not for institutional investors, I mean for normal people, when you can have your crypto on your phone, on your smartwatch, on your computer, and more people start to realize this, and you go home and you look at your computer or your smartwatch or your phone or whatever you have attached to your body at that moment, you realize that you actually control your own money. This is going to be the eye-opening moment for crypto, and this is why I think so many people have already gotten into crypto. I think a lot of people who are into crypto are people who have been following finance, maybe not heavily for a long amount of time, but I think they realize that a lot of what's happening in the world isn't real. The world runs on debt. Please, after this, if you have time, watch a documentary on it. Watch like Google or YouTube debt documentary, and you'll be horrifically surprised that all the money that we have going around in the world, there's more debt than actual paper money, and debt makes the world go round. There isn't enough gold and silver to go around, and this is why when these companies and banks and stock exchanges are dealing in gold and silver, you'll typically get an email or something that says on a website, hey, you own this much gold and or silver, but they will not be able to give that to you physically. However, with crypto, we know that we own it. We know how much that there is. We know how much is being produced. This is why crypto is fantastic, and this is why I am in the industry. Part of it is because I'm not going to lie. This is an investment channel. I do like to make money, same as everybody else, but I love the idea that we're going to get to a point, hopefully in history, should everything go well, that people will be able to control their own money, and you know exactly how much money you have, and you won't have anybody being able to tell you, no, you cannot take this money out. No, you cannot do this with your own money. Didn't mean to spend too much time or get too oddly passionate about that. Apologies, but I thought that was completely relevant to all of this. He went on to add, and I quote, he said, "We're living in the future. That's what I'm all about." He said, "I think I'm a time traveler. I travel forward 5 years in the future, work it out, and then come back and try to take active steps to make it happen." End quote. The next step in Shabasta's future appears to be setting up a cryptocurrency bank, once again another bank. However, in order to offer its clients a range of financial services, said bank needs an authorized deposit taking institution license, or an ADI, which is why Shabasta has purchased a personal shareholding in an existing bank, West Australia's Goldfields Money. He said they're a $35 million market cap, tiny business, but a bank, and the only bank with an ADI in West Australia. End quote. Don't really have to read through the rest of it. Keep in mind, or rather pay attention to the amount of banks that are being built around crypto. I told you guys earlier this year, we were going to get to a point where crypto is no longer laughed at, and I think we're well beyond that. I think anytime that someone comes forward, even if it's some JP Morgan Chase, even if it's Warren Buffett, and they say something negative about cryptocurrencies, the news is gone in a day. Like, people don't actually care anymore because people know that something is going on with this. We're going to have a lot more we're going to have a lot more banks start popping up around cryptocurrencies, and eventually they're going to be just for cryptocurrency. A lot of the things that we see right now, a lot of the things that are forming are maybe not this one. This seems to be the first, I guess, mainly only crypto bank. I'm not really sure, whatever. The point is that we're going to start seeing banks pop up just for crypto. They may start just as custody, like complete, like this bank, this organization is just for custody. No US dollars. We're just going to store your crypto. And then eventually we're going to start seeing banks where you will literally be able to put in and take out crypto as more adoption continues. I assume this is going to happen around the 2020 mark. Point is, this is all going to accelerate relatively fast. I'm still of the mindset, like I said, don't be down. I mean, I get it. Prices aren't going up. Not everybody has been able to buy their Lambo or their house on the beach. I think we're going to eventually get there, but we do need in-between periods. Nothing goes up forever without slamming back down to the ground. So we can't have a continuous period of growth. If we had a continuous period of growth since the beginning of Bitcoin's future, we'd have a Bitcoin price of around $1 billion, and none of us would have been able to afford any of it at all, any other crypto. So I guess that's all I'm going to say on the topic. A lot of very interesting news today. There's still a lot of adoption happening behind the scenes, even though it may not seem like it. Don't think just because prices are going down that people are not interested in the market. I told you guys this before. The fact that we've had 7.8, are we August? Yeah, we're in August. The fact that we've had 7.8, whatever, months consistently of people talking about they're getting into the cryptocurrency market without any deterrence because of the prices going down. This definitely says something. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys are having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, depending on where you are. Thank you for watching and or listening. Thank you once again for all the support. This ETF thing is just complete nonsense. Hopefully this is launching in November. And the point is, I think it says somewhere around there. Yeah, here we go. A November rollout is expected to include physically delivered Bitcoin futures contracts. I think this would be some type of catalyst for the prices to go up. And it's not even speculation. The fact that they said that they plan on doing physical Bitcoin futures is incredibly significant. But let's see if we can get that ETF pushed out as well. Thank you once again for watching, and I will talk to you all soon. See you.